eyes of Africans are watching. What should we expect in terms of how, when the president now wraps up that visit, comes back home, what sort of reactions should we expect from our neighbors immediately in East Africa and the rest of Africa? That's one. But also, too, remember, in the early part of President Ruto's leadership, he was molding himself to be this Pan-Africanist. And there was a lot of support from African countries. They were saying, this guy from Kenya looks to be the man, looks to be the natural successor to the Kwame Nkrumahs of this day. That has somewhat changed. What are we expecting in terms of reaction in that degree, in terms of the perception of not just Kenya, but its leader, but also what sort of posture should we expect in terms of trade, in terms of, more like politics from our neighbors?
You know what is very interesting is we must look at our neighbors through a lens. So Congo, Sunday, had a failed coup involving American citizens. They've said some few savory words towards the Americans. You've got Rwanda, which has a very pro-Rwanda way of approaching these things, right? And then
Rwanda first.
Yes. You've got Uganda, which this LGBTQ war and them telling the IMF to take a walk is different for them. Now, for those countries, the relationship between Kenya and the States will not change the relationship between Kenya and them. But politically, it will be a talking point, right? It will be a talking point because, as you have said, Africa should not look to the West or the East as its savior. Africa needs to look towards Africa. And it's something even President Ruto has said, that Africa has to be for Africa. But that does not mean that we do not make allies. In fact, what I expect is many of the countries in Africa will now gravitate to Kenya to work closely because Kenya now has a direct access to a superpower.
That's right.
Right? If you look at Russia, for example, or China, and you tell me one country that has the status Kenya now has with the States, there's none. There's none.
There isn't. So
Kenya becomes a de facto big boy gatekeeper to the United States. Right? So in terms of the little politics here and there, yes. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, Kenya will become a port of call for help, right? Because they will figure if we are Sudan and we need help and we talk to Kenya, then Uncle Sam is just around the corner. So this particular partnership, especially this non-NATO partnership, is so critical in terms of peace in the region, but it will also make Kenya of demand. Right? Because if you want to deal with things and you're in our region and you know Kenya has a partnership with Uncle Sam, it's like if I know your pal is a billionaire, you'll become a bit closer.
I'll just suddenly be invited to many Arambes.
Yes.
But now, Mark, listen, with this, obviously, there comes a different kind of attention that may not be so good. Simply put, have we just painted an even bigger target on our backs, from towards the enemies of the United States? Remember what happened in 1998? It was after a closer relationship that Kenya was having with the United States. We had Fazul Mohammed and Al-Qaeda looking at Kenya and Tanzania as targets. Have we just painted a target on our backs, Mark?
The question is did that target ever leave? Because we've had problems with Al-Shabaab and ISIS consistently. We as citizens may not feel it because our security forces do a very good job in Somalia, at our border, in terms of gathering information, in terms of keeping the attackers at bay. But for all intents and purposes, Kenya is still at war with Al-Shabaab. So